The past few days have been full of anxiety in Pokemon Go as players were getting banned for literally just playing the game normally during the Team GO Rocket Takeover event. Niantic has not made any official statements about this, but there have been numerous comments online from those who were affected. Now, for those unaware, I wanted to provide some coverage on why this has been happening and what's been going on. Once again, we haven't gotten any official statements from Niantic, so I'm not sure if you can still get banned, but I also haven't seen any recent reports of players being affected. The ones that were affected seem to have gotten wrongfully flagged during the first day of the event. Now, why exactly were players getting banned in the first place? So the simple answer here is that they were hitting some sort of Team GO Rocket Grunt interaction limit put in place by Niantic. This limit was not based on how many times they battled Team GO Rocket Grunts in a day, but instead how many times they interacted with them. A Reddit user that goes by Faladine was the one who originally tested this limit, as they wanted to know what the limit was before a big event like this Team GO Rocket Takeover. Now, they were able to conclude that 160 interactions was the limit for the entire day. So for a daily limit, this feels somewhat reasonable outside of a normal Team GO Rocket Takeover event. And even during an event, most players probably wouldn't even get close to this limit unless they lived near a large amount of Pokestops. It does get worse though. Once this event actually went live, players started reporting that they were getting banned not at 160 encounters, but much less. They were getting banned as low as 50 to 60 encounters, which was much lower than the limit that was originally expected. Once again, this was based on interactions, not battles, so literally just talking to a grunt counted as an interaction. Now, it's unclear as to why this limit was actually lowered again before the event started, as the sole purpose of a Team GO Rocket Takeover is to farm as many of these grunts at Pokestops as possible for Shadow Pokemon. With the rare ability to TM frustration away, this is the best time for players to grind out these Shadow Pokemon, as they can immediately make them viable by getting rid of frustration. Otherwise, they would have to wait months before they could do it again. Now, as usual, the Asia Pacific region were the beta testers in this situation, and Zoe2Dots, another Pokemon Go YouTuber, made multiple videos addressing this. I also researched this issue quite a bit as I was very nervous of my account getting wrongfully banned again. For those who don't know, my account was wrongfully banned back in 2018 and it took me 8 months to actually get it back. There have been many ban waves in Pokemon Go since that where legit players have been affected, and getting through to a real person at Niantic can be quite a frustrating process. Now, the good news is that I have seen reports of players getting unbanned, so it does look like Niantic has been silently addressing this issue. But if you haven't been unbanned yet and you are a legit player, not someone who spoofs their location, then keep appealing. That's really the only thing that you can do. Once again, the whole purpose of these ban waves is to target spoofers and bot accounts in-game. Unfortunately, legit players do get caught in that same net though, so this is a pretty common thing for most online video games where ban waves do happen. Although companies will claim that their methods are sound and that legit players barely get affected, I can tell you firsthand that's not exactly true. Now, in terms of why players were actually getting these bans, there was a common denominator that I did notice. Legit players affected were specifically targeting certain types of grunts, like for example the dragon type grunt. The battle text from a Pokemon Go grunt indicates what Pokemon type they're going to be using, and so it's pretty easy to distinguish if it's actually worth your time or not instead of going through the entire battle. This makes it much easier to actually hit that encounter limit if you aren't actually doing all of your battles. Now, when it came down to players that were doing all of their battles, I couldn't find many cases where they were actually getting hit with this ban. During the first day, I actually did about 62 battles, grunts and leaders combined, and thankfully I was not hit. Although I was doing every single battle encounter, and I didn't run away from a single one of them. Fleece King also mentioned on Twitter that he did about 140 of these battles on the first day of the event. I don't think he really was running away from many of them either, and so this further concludes that the players who were at least doing the grunt battles and not running away were actually okay. But in terms of the players that were just checking the grunt stops and then running away, those were the types of players that seemed to be affected. So what exactly happens now? So the Reddit user who initially tested this out posted an update on their second Reddit post that they were able to get a response from Niantic on this issue. They have claimed that they are fully aware and they are investigating it. This update was on August 9th, and since then I have not really seen any players being affected, so whatever limit was in place, I think it was raised again to avoid more wrongful bans. If you guys are still worried about doing Team GO Rocket Grunt battles though, I really don't blame you. When I went out yesterday, I was still kind of nervous, but I was able to get about 70 done without any issue. I hope to get even more done throughout the remainder of this event, and as a free-to-play player, this is one of the best events to grind. On a personal note, I've actually gotten a few really good Shadow Pokemon from the 120 grunts I've defeated over the past 2 days, including a Shadow Timber. Now, with that being said, I only ran into one of these though, but thankfully it did have really good IVs. I also got a 98% IV Shadow Electabuzz yesterday, which I'm super hyped about. No Shadow Shinies yet, but my luck is usually pretty terrible when it comes down to getting these, so I'm not that surprised. I'm gonna keep hunting though. Anyways guys, that's basically about it for this video. For those wanting to farm Team GO Rocket Grunts, I would recommend battling every single one that you interact with and don't skip them. This seems to be the safest way to approach them without the worry of getting a wrongful ban. And if you guys do want to check out some more content, I'm going to recommend these 2 videos right here. But before you go, don't forget to smash that like button, subscribe, and I'll see you all real soon in the next one.